It's good to see you.
It's good to see you too. How have you been?
Um, I've been good. I've been good. Yeah, going through the ups and downs and kind of been intense a little lately, the past couple days.
Oh yeah.
Um, how have you been feeling? Have you feel like that? Do you feel like that grief coming back up? I'm
Mm,
starting to feel it like right here.
mm-hmm.
And it's starting
There,
to bubble again. And I'm like, oh, gotta go through that again.
you know, it's constantly like detaching. So it's more of a question of, do you still have grief that you need to relieve yourself of? But then too, you know that you're empathic, right? And so
Mhm.
you're also feeling universally what's just happening with everyone, which yes, it is there's there's a lot going on energetically for everybody or whatever. But that's why I feel like the more we center and ground ourselves, and that's why I'm really, since I did my initial worked with the initial initiations with the people with the Monet Key. You're taking the Monet Key soon, right?
Yeah, soon. Yeah, this weekend.
Yours is okay, great. So you'll be receiving the bands of power, which is a protection. So as an empath, that's really, really good. So what it does is it's he's gonna set up different bands. Man, I want to go see Shaman Joe. I want to come up there like, hey, because my experience was just like I'm living my experience with the Monet Kingdom.
Mm.
The things that he saw, I saw the eagle, and then I got my hawk, and I became the eagle. He saw me as a snake high priestess. I've worked with the serpent medicine now. He told me that I would be leading everyone during this time. I would be able to see. I had to be able to see for people, and literally that's what I've been living.
Wow.
Yes. So it's like there were so many things, but getting back to the bands of power. So the bands of power that he'll install, what I love about those is those are filters. And for you as an empath, it's going to be great because it's like what it'll do is he'll install these bands, which are seeds. Once they're ignited, then you'll be able to it'll filter out any of the energies coming your way
Hmm.
into the into five elements. So it's going to cover um, earth, fire, air, water. So earth, water, then fire, air, and then lights. Okay. And what it'll do is, so it'll transfer, it'll filter it out, and what it'll do is feed you with it instead of drain your energy, make you feel bad, make you feel sick. It'll actually feed you and give you energy. So sometimes, with the bands, like I hadn't activated my bands in a minute, but now every time I focus on them, it's like a filter. It's so interesting because it dismantles our ideas of protection. Like, how so many people are like, I need to wear these crystals, which would be good for you right now. So if you do have crystals or essential oils that can assist you, so you're not feeling the heaviness of what's happening. You're getting the messages, though. You get what I mean? It's
Yeah,
important for you to get.
protection from like the physical symptoms.
Mhm,
Yeah,
mhm.
because most of mine show up physically, and I have a really hard time distinguishing like really
What's
what
yours?
it is. Yeah. Most
Yeah.
of the time, like it's something I've probably consumed, I'm assuming, like watched or listened to or like, outside. I'm almost guaranteed. But like also like, yeah, it's probably clearing the chakras and it shows up, but like I don't have like a, oh, it's because I watched this, I feel this, or it's because I saw this person. Like I don't relate the two. I just like feel it, you know?
Exactly, because you feel it, it comes into you. And we looked at your human design. Hold on, wait a second. I'm about to pull your thing up real fast just to see where you take in energy. Because I think I told you that before. Like
Yeah,
open centers where you took in a lot of your energy from.
I think so.
Um,
I think it was like solar plexus probably, which I do have issues with like, well, I guess it depletes my power a lot, you know, if I like take in it from there probably.
yeah, yeah. Hang on a second. All right, let me see. Let me go to yours real quick before we get started. But yeah, like so yeah, it'll help. So the bands of power will assist so you don't have a lot of those physical effects, and then you can work with them. You
Mm,
can, you can tell them like you can just focus in on these bands and then say, so it can filter it into healing light, or it'll filter it, it'll be like the wind, the air, and it'll blow it away from you or blow you towards the place that you need to go, you know what I'm saying, or things like that, or it'll ignite it with fire,
mm-hmm.
and it'll filter it in fire, but fire also purifies, fire also, you know what I'm saying, does all that, or it'll wash it away from you with the waters, or it'll just wash you with the waters of the earth so that you feel refreshed and
Mm,
and renewed in the process, or to feed the earth with it, so it that I do like the bands of power just for me, especially for like you who's an empath and you feel so deeply what's going on universally.
mm-hmm.
And then it just feels like really great, for you to have that as like a resource.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so I'm excited for you, girl. You about to
Yeah.
get it. Yes. Okay, let's see, Lindsay. There you go. Okay. All right. So you take a lot in through your head.
Mm,
And you're right, your solar plexus, your heart,
mm,
your root, and your spleen. So that's where you take a lot of energy in. I don't, my thing is making it all blurry so you can't,
uh-huh.
but you remember your chart, right? I sent you a copy of this, right?
I don't think so.
Hold on a second. Let me send you your body graph really quick. But yeah, it's going to, so your head, your heart, your spleen, your solar plexus, and your root are the main places you take in energy from. Okay. The rest of them are defined, which means that that's where you send energy out. So you send energy out through your ajna. You send energy out through your throat. You send energy out through your identity and direction in life. So, and then you also send energy out through your solar plexus.
Mm,
So not your solar plexus, your sacral.
mm.
Your solar plexus are undefined. Okay. And yeah, you're a generator. I'm gonna sing. So check out what I just sent you
Okay.
in a text message. And then you can see those colors on that graph. And that's what so the ones that are colored in, those are all the places that are defined for you, meaning that's where you send energy out into the world. And all the white, that's where you receive energy. And that's where from those places where you can receive energy from, that's where you'll get your not self things, things that, you're feeling that's not you. But then, like I said, you're a person that's supposed to see as well, just like me. We're supposed to feel what's here for our people. But then we have to, feed ourselves with that so that we can be able to guide as people come to us. You know what I'm saying? So it no longer like weighs us down or things like that, and we can go through certain things just like I went through experiencing COVID.
Uh-huh.
twice. And part of that was so that I can relate to and be able to describe and know, like, that's how I when COVID first came out, part of the reason why I knew what people were experiencing was because I went through it in my own physical body. And so I'm like, man, they're facing death, like it was
Yeah.
informational.
Yeah, I'm glad this topic came up because it's like I've been wanting to chat with someone about it. And you're like the only one that I know of who's had this kind of like grief, kind of sadness, fear experience when it comes to COVID.
Mm-hmm.
Not a lot of other people that I know talk about it if they did. But yeah, for me, it was the same. Like, actually, I never had the physical symptoms of COVID, like the cold and like
Yeah.
flu, but I had the grief and the sadness come up. Even
Okay.
though I was testing negative, everyone around me was positive except for me. But I went through the same experience. I was tired and I grieved for like 2 weeks. And it was
Mm.
the most intense grieving probably since like 2015 when I like had my awakening in some way. So it was kind of weird because I thought, man, I went through this. Like, but then it taught me, like, no, like, you can, it's the dark night. It was the dark night of the soul. Like, I had to
Mhm.
go through it again, which I didn't realize, like, that was possible. You know what I
Mhm.
mean?
Yeah. It, it is. And like, even when I remember I tested positive for COVID twice,
Mm.
2 times in a
Two
row.
different times or like two different times?
2 times in a row. Like I went the full like 10 days or however long you're supposed to quarantine yourself after you're positive.
Mm-hmm.
So I went that whole time, and then I went to get tested again, and it was still positive for COVID still. And I remember that, the second time, I mean, it was just sort of like both times, and that's the thing, everyone experiences this differently. It's
Yeah.
all unique, and it depends on what your grieving looks like. It's a number of different dynamics. This is all having to do with the shift that we're experiencing
Yeah.
and the shedding off of certain things. There's certain things I had to shed in my heart,
Mm-hmm.
that I had to release. And even sometimes in the spiritual community, some people look at like, oh, I never got COVID, I'm this, I'm that, and it's sort of
Right.
like, everyone has their own experience and why they're experiencing it. There's a divine reason why you never why you never got it.
Yeah.
We can say that it's health or eating or whatever, but I was taking this tonic that has like so much good stuff inside of it: apple cider vinegar, garlic, turmeric, ginger, cayenne pepper,
Mm-hmm.
noni juice, elderberry juice, and all of that. Like, literally, it is a space that we get to go to so that we can clear what we need to clear. And then we're holding space for our family members that don't know how to do that work.
Oh my God, that
You know
was
what I'm
intense.
saying?
I know what you're saying. It was that was hard too, because like I'm like, I went through my thing and then I'm like, all right, I made it through it. But it's just like, no, there's like all these people that I know that are now going through it. And I'm still feeling for them, because it's like it almost brought me closer to the collective in a way.
Mhm.
Whereas like normally I would just be like, oh, whatever. But this was like, okay, I am here for you in a way that normally I wouldn't have been, you know.
Yeah.
And like,
Yeah, because we kind of we have been grieving so much. We were grieving the fact that all of these people in the collective basically ridiculed us,
mhm,
talked about us, made us feel like we were just, you know what I'm saying, so out there, strange, things like that. And that grief got heavy, which created this separation. You know what I'm saying? It's sort of like, I'm not safe with my own family. I'm not safe
yeah,
with my old friends anymore because we all have this different way that we view the world, when
Yeah.
actually we're actually on the other side of this, being called to eject ourselves from out of this box so that we can see what else is out here. Because other than that, we would have still just kept going in the same cycle. So
Yeah.
some of us had to be the jack in a box and go, pop, here we are. Oh, wow. But in the meantime, while we're experiencing this coming out of the box, we're experiencing these episodes with family, friends, being a part of the church,
Mm.
um, you know, family members, not understanding what you're doing. How do you think you can heal? Ridiculing, like watching every little step, like, oh, see, she got sick. She's not really a healer. Oh,
Mm.
see, la la la. She, you know what I'm saying? It's like, all of those things. And so we had major grief that some of us were going through just from feeling ostracized for, for stepping out of the normal, as far as even just mental mindset, you know. And then through going through that grief, it created this what natural separation from us, from the collective. And the divine is like, you're here to serve the collective. You got to be able to come back with them and return to compassion, return to, allowing yourself to feel for them. These are your people,
Mhm.
you know, these are your people.
Mhm.
And now you know how to serve them. Now you can look at them with the eyes of compassion, just like you look at yourself with the eyes of compassion. If I'm going through this grief right now, like the way that you're feeling, like when you told me when we started this call, having grace and compassion for myself, for
Mhm.
the fact that, I'm feeling this in my body right now,
Mhm.
and then having enough grace to, to also allow myself that, I can breathe through this, and, whatever this experience will be for me, it'll be, grace and compassion enough where I don't really have to go much deeper into this. This could just be information that I'm taking in,
True.
that I can serve others so that I can know where people are. I don't necessarily have to make this mine,
Mm.
but I can make it food that I utilize to nourish myself so that I can nourish my community that I am called to, to serve, you know?
Was powerful.
Yeah, because we all have these communities to serve. We all do.
Doesn't necessarily have to make it mine.
Mm-mm. You don't have to make it yours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, oh man, that Angela or you sent me the video last time, and I want to I'll share it, eventually. But the fear and the grief, and how to navigate through it, when it does come up, and like it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to come up like we just said. Like it doesn't have to be mine. Like I can feel what's going on in the world without taking it on mine and literally going through that dark night of the soul. But if the dark night of the soul does come and you are in it, and there's a lot of fear there because it's breaking down beliefs and it's breaking down everything, and it's like you feel like you're mad, like mentally going mad, like I don't want to say crazy, but yes, like you feel like you're losing it. I'm losing it. I don't know what to believe. I don't trust myself even anymore. Like who can I trust? It can be very scary. That's why I say there's a lot of fear there. And
Mhm.
there's a meditation you sent me that was so powerful. It was instead of like resist, like that, let it like say yes to it. It was like yes,
Mhm.
yes,
Mhm.
soften into it, let it
Into it.
come up, let it take over you almost into everything, be it.
Yes.
And it softens and it dissipates, And you know, those are that, then I can feel that, like that tiny little bit of hope that keeps us going, you know. Just that tiny little hope is what sometimes all we need to, like, okay, I can get through this. I can take another step. So very powerful.
And you know what? See, the old paradigm, what all of these, COVID is a big symbol of, um, just, I mean, it works for us as a collective to get us to this next space, this world that we've been creating for so long. We've been asking for certain things. You remember when everything first came up, when everything was first going on, and we met up in the and went hiking.
Yeah.
I was sharing with you, for so long, we've been cultivating this energy of this shift. We've been saying that we're ascending. We've been saying that there's this new world coming, and you know what I'm saying? And that we want this world full of love, and you know what I'm saying? And all of these changes. And again, when we're cultivating this energy, and all of us are such powerful beings, we discredit ourselves. Did we not think something was going to happen to change?
Totally. You're totally right. Like, oh shit, this is what we asked for, you know? Like, this is what we were asking for. Not necessarily that, but like a change. And
Yes.
there are changes happening. We don't know what's gonna be the result. There's so much unknown, and it's like something that like we thrive off of at the same time, as much as it's like in disarray.
So in this new world, what it's requiring is that, one, we see ourselves in wholeness. Okay. So that means we have to look at these aspects of fear, shame, things that we're ashamed of,
Yeah.
things that we've been grieving, losses that we've had that we're like, oh, I don't even want to think about that. We have to look at these things, because in order to go into wholeness, we have to face all of these aspects of ourselves and be willing to do that. And so therefore the requirement now is, okay, if you want to go into the new world, you have to face your fears.
Yeah.
You have to face this idea that you've been fearing death, that you've been fearing facing your grief, that you, all of these things that you've been fearing, you got to look it in the face.
Yeah. That's the fear. The fear is, or was for me, and is what I'm dealing with, is the fear of death, loved ones dying, the fear and the reality basically that all we have is ourselves. Like in a way, like how we come into this world alone and we go alone.
Yeah.
It's
And
all
it's dismantling
the,
all of those things, so that, because in this new world, when we're whole and we see ourselves in wholeness, we don't have these fears. There's no room for fear, because all there is love. There's love for ourselves. There's love for each other. There's, my ancestors have been telling me, we're talking about currency, and everyone's, figuring out how they want to do this. It's breaking up the cycles. That's why. And it's causing you to remove the mask. Now you have to put a physical mask on your body, because you've been wearing your mask in life for a long time.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And you haven't been able to breathe. We have not been breathing. They've been talking about this. They've been saying you need to breathe out of your nose, right? The breath that we're taking out of our mouth, that's emergency breath. That's not our breath of life. Our breath of life comes from inhaling and exhaling out of the nose. Those are things. So in order to correct it, now I'm making it so that you can't breathe. Now I'm gonna cause you to face the mask that you've been putting on, and that is causing you not to breathe, and see how much you'll be attached to that mask for protection, instead of trusting the innate inside of you and your own internal guidance that is telling you what you need to do for yourself. And so it's facing these things. It's looking at myself. It's looking at all of these areas of myself, and it's beginning to accept these things. Like you said, when we face it, we've been fearing facing these things, but the magic of it is when we finally face it, like you said, it begins to dissipate. It begins to ease up. It be, you know what I'm saying? It's
When
so
we accept it, yeah, and love it, accept it
often.
with love,
Yeah, you're like, you look at it and
say
you
yes.
look at it and you say yes to it, and you give it, take a deep breath, and it'll move the way it wants to move.
Mhm,
What people don't get is these energies that we've been holding on to,
mhm.
these fears don't want to be fears forever. We've been holding them hostage and prisoner for too long.
Yeah,
I think they want to only serve that.
yeah,
We gotta recognize that these things that we put labels on, those are energies. It's
right.
just energy,
It's
but
just
we've
energy.
labeled it as a fear, as this, as that, or whatever.
Yeah,
And it is saying, please deliver me out of this darkness. That's why shadow work has been this big thing. You know what I'm saying? That's been coming up. Please deliver me. Please, the shadow is crying out in the darkness, that, you know what I'm saying? And it's not the darkness of like evil, but it's crying out in the darkness. You've put so much on me. Can you please just let this stuff go?
yeah,
That's what the shadow says. But everyone's like, oh my gosh, it's the Pookie Man in the shadow. Listen, the shadow has so many amazing things. Peter Pan told us that when we were kids. Peter Pan chased his shadow around like, shadow, back, come back. And why was that? Because the shadow does so much more. Our shadow doesn't sit around all day waiting for us. Our shadow is out there. It takes those intercessions that we have for our family members and it gives them that love. It gives them that healing. Our shadow heals people. When we leave out of the room, our shadow sometimes remains there and holds that space.
hmm,
Or it proceeds before us sometimes. It goes ahead of us and it looks out for us.
mhm.
But we have put the shadow in this container because of the traumas that it's held for us. Because it said, okay, I'll hold this for you. I'll hold this fear for you. I'll hold the pain for you. I hold your suffering for you. Yes, I'll do that for you because you're a kid, you're a teenager. This is a lot to carry by yourself.
Do you think that when we discuss or um I'm not sure any other way, like sit with it, do you think that that is what transmute it from darkness to light? And I guess in our minds, because it's
Trans,
not so scary
what?
anymore because we face it in a way
Mhm.
when we wear all of our aspects and we're not like hiding it necessarily, we're just speaking about it like openly, and in being with it with ourselves openly,
Yeah.
instead of like trying to avoid it or, like distract ourselves or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like it is. It's like the elephant in the room. I
Mhm.
mean,
Mhm.
sometimes things are so much in the light that, and we still don't want to look at it. You know what I'm saying? It's like someone can be in pain right here in the light. They don't have to be in the dark for us to be avoiding anything.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, the dark, of course, is just gonna, it's there, but again, we can, it'll illuminate, and a lot of times it's illuminated for us because it's like it's something we're avoiding, so it's something we're seeing in our peripheral vision, which means it's lit
Mhm.
up.
Mhm.
If it was complete darkness, we wouldn't see it at all, and therefore we wouldn't even know what's out there, just be a vast unknown. But these are things that are in the known realm.
Mhm.
These are things that are illuminating and lighting up for us. Work on this, work on this. And what happens in life, and the proof of it is in life, what happens when you're going through a certain grief or you're experiencing a certain fear. Let's talk about that. What you'll begin to do is you go into the store and somebody's talking about it, or you driving in your car and then that thing happens, or you're talking to someone, all of a sudden that thing is coming up in conversation, or you're getting a feeling in your body like,
Mhm.
oh, that doesn't feel good. You're tightened up. Most of us are constipated because we're tightening our muscles. So
Mhm.
that means it's known because it's causing us to have physical body effects and experiences in this life. So that means it's not something that's in the dark. It's something that we're going through every day that we're still avoiding.
Yeah.
It's just like, the foods that many of us eat, right? So many people are avoiding the reactions that their body is having to the food, but it can physically be seen. People get runny nose, swelling of the eyes, breaking out in rashes. Me too. I deal with it myself.
Same.
You know what
I
I'm
have
saying?
rosacea. Yeah.
Yeah, and we get these things, some environmentally, some from like just things that we're eating and consuming. But me and you, we've been on this path where we've been like, okay, you know, regimenting our food and getting
Mhm.
better. But it's a lot of our people that aren't altering anything, and they're just willing to live with the diseases that come
Mhm.
from the consumption of the things that they eat. So it's not that they don't know, it's localizing in your body. Your fear is localizing in your body.
Yeah.
Your fear has created uh, arthritis. Your fear has created, you know what I'm saying? All of these autoimmune diseases. It's
Mhm.
our fears. Our fears, the things that we've been grieving, it's not been hidden. We've been living with these conditions, and life has called us to let that shit go.
Yeah, and I think there's like an energy when because I see things in like energy, like the way it's balanced and stuff. And I see like these things that we suppress because it makes us kind of feel higher in a way.
Mm, yeah.
We don't want to come down a little bit. We want to almost be higher than other people. I'm not really sure why we want to be so high, but everybody seems to want to be like rush rushing around this high energy, this like happy person, and like I'm so talkative and like social and stuff. And to me, that's a very high energy. I don't know why everyone's chasing it, but I think that when we avoid this energy down here, it keeps us higher. But if we face it, we start to come down, and this is who we really are.
Yes, I love
We
that.
are here, but this is,
Because there's this new state. I just came across something that's called toxic positivity.
yeah,
And that's the thing about, good vibes only. Well, wait a second. So that means avoid all your other feelings.
right.
You know, when I speak about love, you know what I'm saying? And for me, love and light is I'm an essence of love. This is who I am. And my core, my being, when you said you go here,
Mhm.
I'm love,
Mhm.
right? And my goal is to bring my heart and make it light as a feather. And the only way for our hearts to become light is we have to release the heaviness of the fear, the grief, the suffering, the
Mm.
sadness, the worries, right?
Mhm.
And, just like the scales of Mayat, they said that on Judgment Day, what did she do? You place your heart on the scale against the feather, just what you just described,
Mm.
right? But if is my heart is heavy, then of course, here it is. The scale's gonna be here.
Mm.
But then as I lighten my heart, same thing happens. Come into balance.
Mhm.
Now my heart can be weighed here, light as a feather. But my first requirement is that I have to clear this thing. I have to allow myself to let go of these ideas that I've held on to. Sometimes we're holding on so dearly to the routine, you
Mhm.
know what I'm saying, to the cycle. But it's like, you know, after a while, and it's been this thing of like, we've talked about this before. Change has been a scary thing,
Mhm.
you know, but this is the evolution. When you look at a baby in the womb, in the embryo, what is happening throughout all the gestations? The baby is changing forms.
Mhm.
That's all we've ever done was shift. So
Mhm.
within the mother's womb, you will see everything that we've ever been.
Mhm.
before, all of the forms that we've taken, and then we've come into this form of human form.
Yeah.
But you get to see all the extraterrestrials in the room. You get to see us as a fish person in the womb. You know, you get to see us at different physical forms.
Mhm.
And yeah, it is different, this change, but like again, the more we embrace the essence of, like you said, our true self.
Yeah, which
No.
encompasses like there is pain there. Like
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's so much like getting rid of it as much as living with it in a way. Like
Or really just like, this is how I see it, because we have switched the paradigm where we no longer, we used to think that pain and suffering was, as far as my people were concerned, pain and suffering was the way of gain. It was the way of showing that you were
like holy.
taking on. Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
Um
that's a Christian
and
thing.
or
Like
yeah, or that in order for you to have, like some stories, like you remember when we talked about my stories, and you're like, man, I haven't been through all of that, but I feel like this. And I'm like, sis, do not look at my story like, what I'm saying, don't
I
look at
I
any of those
remember
elements.
I envied people like you because you had a story.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And so, but we've, so many of us have been attached to these stories.
Yeah.
And then these stories are like, oh yeah, well, they're gonna be the next, the next person to make it big because they were going through poverty and things like that. And that's not to say it was like a rites of passage to be successful. Got to go through pain and suffering in order to have some type of success that meant something to people. You
Yeah.
know, and really, it's not about all of that. You know
Mhm.
what I'm saying? It's not about that. Actually, we're being called to release the stories. Okay,
Mhm.
to release even this pain. Doesn't want to stay pain. Do you, when you feel that pain in your leg, do you think that pain wants to stay
No, but I
in
think
that
that once
label?
you embrace, or I don't know what the right word is, accept it or call it into your life, it doesn't sort of feel like pain anymore,
Yeah.
even though it can live there. Same with fear and all these like shadow aspects.
Yeah.
When
I
we
had done a
call,
meditation, right? I did a meditation one time, and I was feeling some pain, and so then I had to go into it,
hmm
and then I had to allow it to just become vibration.
yes, yes, and it starts to dissipate a little.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Mhm. Going into it and allowing it to just be vibration, be, because that's all everything is just energy and vibration.
Mhm.
And that's why the sacred sounds have become very healing for us.
Yeah,
Those
that's
vibrational frequencies are some of the highest frequencies that we've had access to. Sound is much has much more potency. Even though I don't like to do these differentiation things, you know what I'm saying? Because again, everything needs to come into balance and wholeness, and everything is important. And when we embrace pain, we do embrace the opposite, because what the wholeness is about is embracing the polarities.
mhm.
Okay. But that means creating a resolve for the pain, allowing these stories to be resolved,
Mhm.
allowing the stories of pain to be resolved, allowing pain to take on its wholeness form. It's not just pain.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? It's not just pain. Pain is also bliss,
Mhm.
opposite ends of the spectrum. So if you want more bliss, embrace the pain, you know what I'm saying? Feel it, you know what I'm saying? And allow it to be more than just that. That's all I'm saying.
Mhm.
Just allow things to, don't just limit it. We're going into our unlimited abilities where, you know what I'm saying? Like we could walk around here like superheroes. That's what's being activated. So allowing these things to be more than just that.
Mhm. Um, Something I've been like curious about to chat about is
Mhm.
plant medicine, and I know that you've been
Yeah.
working with it this past year.
Mhm.
Um, so I don't have like much like healing experiences with plant medicine. Um, I've delved into things like mushrooms and stuff in the past, but it was never like a healing thing. So how I know you're big into Kambo,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
what's that? What's that like?
Kambo, it is a sacred frog from the Amazons.
Mhm,
And how I came to Kambo, I give thanks for the frog. And what happened is one day I was working with a dear sister of mine who was going through some, challenges, and I was able to observe her as she was experiencing all of these things. Well, throughout the process ended up being where she ended up having to go to the hospital,
mhm,
and I was not able to really be there for it. Was when COVID came. COVID was there, so they have limited people that can be in the
mhm.
car, like all of these things. And I said to my spirit team and guides, I don't ever want to be in a situation where I don't have all of the tools I need to be able to serve my people.
I feel I'm no sorry, I don't want to interject, but that hits the nail on the head for the fear for me.
Mm-hmm,
I realized during COVID that
mm-hmm.
I need to get an army of people, not an army, but I need to find people that I can rely on that are outside of the system per se. And I still am working on that. I think you've kind of dived into it more, but I'm like trying to scratch it. I'm scratching, trying to find it. So, yeah,
Yeah.
that was a big lesson or realization was, yeah,
Yes.
I needed resources. I still do.
Right.
Yeah.
Hmm. And so with that, and with her going into the hospital, I called out. I mean, I was hurt. I mean, I was upset about this. I said, not ever again. Well, I need the place where people can come to me and they can actually go through their healing process the way that they need to without there being any disturbance of neighbors or whatever, just being on land where I can really just allow people to experience what they need to experience so that this thing can be relieved, and for the rest of their lives they can live in paradise. And so I called out, like, whatever the tools are that I need you to bring it to me.
Wow.
And so I ended up just happening to be I ended up drawing into a local medicine man who at first I didn't even know about Kambo myself. But he was actually talking about something completely different, but it resonated with me, and I met up with him and his wife. And then he said, have you ever experienced Kambo? I said no. And I was like, well, what is that? So he began to tell me a story that it's a detox medicine.
Okay.
And so what it does is it allows you to purge out things that you need to purge. The frog has its own intelligence. So the frog will come into the body through an open gate, and then it'll seek out, look for where you need, where you need the most relief. Okay. And then it'll cause the body to purge. So, so that can mean vomiting, that can mean a number of things. It is also a purging on a spiritual level and an emotional level, and a mental level. Okay. So it's a purging within the physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual realms. All of these realms are you're able to be purged out. So some people may not throw up, but then they'll find themselves boohoo crying for the rest of the day because it's purging out something with that they were grieving,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and they needed to share those tears. So, what is the story behind it? And hopefully I get everything right. Was that, apologies about that. There was a medicine man, I believe he was in the Amazons, somewhere in South America, and his village became sick. Everyone became sick and people were dying. Don't that sound familiar? And he says he was trying everything, and things weren't working out, and almost like beside himself, like, what am I to do?
Mm-hmm.
So he said, I need to go see Mama Aya. So he went to see Mama Aya, also known as ayahuasca,
Mm-hmm.
okay, the grandmother plant. And he went to see Mama Aya. He told Mama Aya, look, my people are dying, they're suffering, they're sick. I've tried everything and nothing's working. And Mama Aya says this: you must become the medicine to heal your people.
Mm-hmm.
And he turned himself into a frog, the Kambo frog. And then he multiplied himself millions of times, and he sent himself out into the forest. And then when he came back from his journey with Mama Aya, he had to go into the forest and seek out that frog. The frog, again, was himself.
Mm-hmm.
Self that he created as medicine for his people. He told himself exactly what to do, all of this on his journey. So then when he found himself in the forest, which was the medicine, he extracted the sweat from the frog and he began to place it on his people, and they began to recover and become better.
Wow.
So this medicine means something to me because it came to me that one of the biggest things for our people is that, there's a purge that needs to happen on the earth, a
Mm-hmm.
great purging. And we're experiencing that even with people, and they're making their transitions out of here. We're experiencing purging in several different ways on the earth.
Mm-hmm.
The more that we all purge and allow ourselves to relieve ourselves of these things and get more out, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Um, it naturally begins to create healing for us. Of course, with anything that has to do with sacred medicine or plant medicine, we don't use words like it's a cure,
Right.
you know, or things like that. Because one, the system has been set up where those words can't be used.
Right.
However, these are tools that we have access to, that we can utilize for ourselves, and then we can live that experience and share it with others and say, this is what it was for me,
Right.
you know, and like for instance with Kambo, ah, it's a warrior medicine. So it's like you really have to sit with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You get all these different feelings like in your body, like that fear
Mm-hmm.
that people are, really causes you to face some things and allow yourself to let it go,
Yeah.
and purge it out. Yeah.
This is like a day thing, or like does it linger on? Like you have to does it stay with you?
So, yeah, of course it's gonna have a, it's it's a lasting, but the process of like the whole experiment, the whole experience is that you're really sitting with the frog on your, we open gates on the skin, and you're literally sitting with that for about 15 minutes. Okay. Um, and then we take the medicine off. And then after that time, that process of time goes by. Yes, your body is recovering. Your body can still feel the medicine moving because now it's gone. And important thing to say, it cleans around your cells.
Mm.
Okay. So that washing of cleaning around your cells is going to definitely have a lasting effect because it's clear now, you
Mm-hmm.
know? And so it's cleaned around those cells. However, for like if let's say me and you had a private session, you would probably only need to reserve about an hour.
Mm.
That's just to give yourself time for to rest and you know um things like that after if you want to be able to sit for a minute and or whatnot. But the just from beginning with the medicine actually on you, that's only about 15 minutes.
Okay. And like, just so most people, do they feel called to something like this? Like how, like, or is this something like someone who's already grieving might
Mhm.
like be helpful
Yeah.
or something like that? Okay.
Yeah, I believe so. I feel like medicines like what you talked about, shrooms,
Mm-hmm.
Aya,
Mm-hmm.
they definitely call you. Kambo does have a certain calling. Sometimes people that are called to Kambo begin to see frogs.
Mm.
Um, there was a man that actually saw a frog look just like the Campbell frog, and he'd never experienced Kambo before. But then I asked him, I said, "Have you ever heard of Kambo?" And then when I told him about the Amazonian frog, he said, "I have to show you something. This is gonna make you laugh." And he showed me a picture of a frog that was sitting outside of his door that was singing to him every day. And so, so sometimes people do experience different things like that. So, but it's not necessarily like it has to be. Kambo is not a psychedelic type of medicine at all.
Yeah.
So it's not like you're tripping.
Right.
You are, the frog is actually going in and like just showing you things that's in there.
I like that.
Mhm.
Do you
Yeah.
think that that this stuff can be done without, like, do you think it's like a healing session? Like you would come and you can face all this stuff, or do you think Campbell brings out something that you might not even know, or like that, like does it, can you get the same effect without Campbell by just like doing a healing session, or do you think it's like kind of necessary to experience? I don't know.
For me, Kambo is its own experience, just like the many other healing modalities.
Yeah.
Saying it's its own experience. It has its own effects. I do feel that it is very important. I
Yeah.
feel like it's a very important medicine. Um, because like I am, holding a ceremony for myself this week with
Mhm.
Kambo, you know, and it's definitely a medicine that you sit with and you work with and you do your work with it. And what is needed to be revealed for you for your personal journey,
Yeah.
it'll be revealed to you, you know.
Yeah.
um, so yes, but I believe that it's valid. I believe that it's important. Some things that we're purging are, these ancestral things, past life conditions that are still affecting us and localized within this body or this experience. So like, again, all of these are different stories. However, like being in this position on this earth where we've been, my personal feeling is that this is definitely a medicine that is required for our people. It's been helping people with mental conditions,
Mhm.
schizophrenia, bipolar, like allowing these things that have been trapped in the mind
Mhm.
to become more balanced.
Mm.
And it's very, very helpful for depression,
Mm.
allowing purge depression, anxiety, things like that. So there's different, like I said, it's going through, you may be experiencing certain effects in the physical body, but it's definitely assisting with the mental, the emotional, so even though we could be doing all of these different healing works, like if you feel that you're called to, if a person feels that they're called and they hear about this and they're like, I believe that I would like to have a Kambo ceremony,
Mhm.
and do it and have your experience with it, and then allow that experience to share with you what you need to know.
Yeah. Yeah, it's something that um it's it's like intriguing, but at the same time I'm like, oh, is it something I need? I don't know. But then you're like, oh, well, maybe there's something there that I don't know. I don't know.
Mhm.
Because
And
I mean, I recently did have a big, just on my own, some kind of crazy experience. It
mhm,
takes time to like
mhm.
get back to living, when you have those experience. I don't know if it's necessarily beneficial to do them back to back always, like, yeah,
Well,
when
why
the
wouldn't it
time
be
is right.
why wouldn't it be beneficial to us? We're moving into the an earth where we walk around divine every single day.
Yeah.
Every single day is full of the amazing yumminess of like paradise.
Yeah.
And so to get to paradise, it's like, yeah, I have literally put myself through some things, and then it's good to rest. You're
Yeah.
absolutely right. It's good to take our rest
Mhm.
and allow ourselves that time too. But naturally, there'll be a balance. You know
Mhm.
what I'm saying? And eventually, yes, it's like equipping ourselves, because what I have found is the biggest fear most of us hold isn't even the scary stuff. You know what the fear is that we hold
Losing
most?
control.
Mm-mm.
What?
How amazing we are. How
Oh,
we don't need to be afraid, how much we don't need to be a part of this system, how supernatural we are. Most of the time we are afraid, we have more fear of our supernatural gifts. That's the thing that we really try to avoid.
yeah.
You
Yeah,
know,
you're probably right.
those are the aspects that we really work to avoid.
Mhm.
And that's what we're coming more into.
Mhm.
You know what I'm
I feel
saying?
like we're also coming into like a time, like more fifth dimensional stuff where
Yes.
we kind of have like we're in fourth dimension because we have like the idea of wholeness, but like the fifth dimension is like actually being wholeness. So I think it's like definitely like, but we all like, it's like a cycle. Like I don't know if we'll ever stay in fifth dimension. You know what I mean? Like I don't
Because
I
we're ever evolving.
yeah,
So
like it's a
there's more dimensions outside of fifth. There's six, seven,
8, 9,
eight,
9.
nine. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's
Yeah,
like we just get into the fifth. Like,
right.
yeah, you know what I'm
No,
saying?
I know. I think, but as we build, like as we come, like as much as I want to be different, which is very like third, or I don't even know, second dimension, third dimension, as much as like I want to be like this, I want to be, like not like known. I want to like have this like purpose and I want to be contributing and all this stuff. Like it's like I get smacked down a little bit because it's like, no, that's very third dimension. Like you take yourself out of it and like still do the stuff. You know what I mean? Like I can contribute without it being like, oh, it's Lindsay. I am just as you are just me, as the next person and the next person. Like there's no special thing.
And
I
well,
guess
the thing
that's what
about
I
it,
keep getting told.
yeah, well, it's about just being that,
Yeah,
being it.
being
Just like
that.
Mama Aya told the medicine man, become the medicine.
Right.
And eventually we just start walking around and it doesn't become about self that you do these things.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? It doesn't, like,
Well, as soon as I make it about myself, it starts to lower it back down. And I'm like, I did it again. I identified with it. You know what I mean?
yeah, eventually, like, you'll get in this groove where it's like there's a balance of like the fact that you do have to, a part of it is you're in this human body, in this physical experience, it is flowing through you. You are the vessel or
Mm-hmm.
the vehicle that it's coming from. So yes, there's a space of honoring yourself,
Mm-hmm.
right? And there's the space of no self.
Right.
No self is like, it's not about you, but it's really, the message is more so about no self, because no self and the unknown and all of those things, those are powerful.
Mm-hmm.
That's where you will get, that's where we'll be receiving so many messages from the no self.
Mm-hmm.
Because going into the no self, I become everything. I'm
Right.
everyone.
Right.
So that's why the no self is important. It's not just about you. It's
Mm-hmm.
the fact that I am everyone and everything, and all of these vibrations are aspects of myself. It is me,
Mm-hmm.
because you go into the no self to become the self.
Mm-hmm.
It's so interesting.
It is interesting.
Self within its wholeness, which includes all the other selves as well as you. And that self becomes no self because everything is whole,
Yeah.
you know? It's like differentiating between the colors. Purple doesn't cry out to us, I'm purple, and in fact, they say purple would be every other color but purple, but all of those colors that it is combined, and then it protrudes out that color
Mm.
that we label as purple. But you know what I'm saying? But in a rainbow, it looks really nice to see all of these spectrums of colors.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It looks really nice. And so then we've created labels for the differentiations
Mm-hmm.
between, oh, this is yellow, this is orange, this is red. And it's so beautiful. But we can be just that easy with ourselves when we're going through this process, because yes, it is about us all. And it very much is. And then there's an aspect of it that is you,
My part in
what
it. Yeah.
you're contributing to the whole,
Yeah.
and being able to appreciate your contribution
Mm-hmm.
to the whole. But again, you know, this is one thing that I have found. If you find yourself, you know, oh, I'm a leader, and you're getting too, like, you're feeling because some people do, they feel like they're getting into ego, and more so
Mm-hmm.
that can be a response to some trauma, like something that happened, that where someone experienced someone that was like, very much in their ego power, or whatever, which I don't like to use ego as a negative, because I don't see it as that, you
Mm-hmm.
know. But sometimes you can see a person very much in, oh, this is just about me, and I'm this and I'm that, and I gotta, or whatever. And so sometimes we judge that, and we
Mm-hmm.
taken that onto ourselves, and now we criticize ourselves in that same manner,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And however, though, when you're in this work, the gravity of the responsibility hits you before it becomes about you,
Mm-hmm.
because you feel the responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like, you know, and you become and you're a servant. Again, that word, like
Yeah.
you're serving.
Even just like teaching yoga again, like
Mhm.
it's different for me now. Like it's become like a commitment to myself that like I wasn't able to commit to before. And like it feels good because it's about service and it's not about like teaching because I'm certified and I feel like I have to teach. It's not about that. It's about because it's a, being of service. And it feels so much better to be that. However, I do get stuck sometimes and I feel like it lowers the energy when like I don't know if it's like yeah, like a judgment of it like I don't know what the thing is. Like like I'm like, oh, it's not enough or not enough people are involved like coming or like so and so is doing this. So it's that classic like comparison thing that like just really is the no purpose.
Yeah. When you're focused on um being the medicine with everything you do,
Yeah.
everything in life. Like they say, yoga is a lifestyle. Everything in life becomes this sacred ceremony. So
Yeah.
it doesn't matter if you touch one person with this
Yeah.
or whatever. I mean, what I'm saying is you want to reach people, but that's about magnetism too,
Mhm.
and sometimes our avoidance of like if you're dealing with, I don't want to be this famous person, it's not about me,
Yeah.
but then at the same time you want all these people to come in,
Yes.
it's contradiction. So
Yes.
it's sort of like universe is like, I don't really know how to give this to you because I
Yes.
want to be that, but then you're looking at how many people showing up, and so
Totally.
it's really coming through like, hey, just release it all and
Right.
allow who comes to come. And if people look at you and they make and they start saying Lindsay is amazing and and you become famous all around Michigan or all around the United States for what you do as far as yoga, be willing to accept that.
Yeah. I had
And
like this
like I said, our biggest fear is our greatness many times.
totally because I had a fear that during COVID, I mean the shit went through the fan during COVID. Another fear was that because I kind of a lot of the meditations that I write literally come through me. Most of them are from my own experience. So when I share them, I feel like the energy is no longer for me. Like I feel like it's outside of me and I don't necessarily have access to that same power. Do you ever have that experience with your own when you share things that you personally use,
Mhm.
like that are critical to like surviving and like mentally, your mental health, everything? Like it starts to not have it. I feel like it starts to kind of lose its power a little for me. And like, I'm like, well, what tool am I going to use now? So I have to kind of almost like share it, which is really weird because it's no
Well,
longer mine.
because we're and like how they tell me this is we're and what is abundance?
Mm-hmm.
It's an ever flowing. When we give it out,
Mm-hmm.
there's something else right there.
Well,
That's supposed to come up.
sometimes it kind of feels like a void though. And it's like
Oh yeah.
interesting. I don't know.
Mhm. It can be it can feel like that void, but going is that void anything that I need to judge, or do I just need to allow
Yeah.
myself to be in that and then get to the other side of it? And on the other side of it is another amazing meditation that is for you.
Right. That's
That
what I've like learned too is that yeah, like over time something it'll come back over time and it'll be powerful again. But it's like this phase where it's not, but then or there'll be something else. generally.
Yeah. And then it's your baby.
Yeah.
So again, allowing yourself to get into more nurturing.
Yeah.
But I think that starts with nurturing yourself.
Mm-hmm.
As maybe there's been a story about giving things out and not getting a return. And
Where
so
that, I mean, yeah, you're totally right. Like, where does that come from? Because that's my experience, though it's just not necessarily yours or somebody else's. Like,
yeah.
so
Mhm.
yeah, why is there this feeling of I
Mhm.
feel empty or something after?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be a bad thing. You know what I'm saying? You could feel empty because you channeled a bunch of energy that came through you, flowed through you for the collective that you were supposed to deliver.
Yeah.
Now it's the
It's
place
a,
where you can rest.
it's a huge release. And then it's like, whoa, like what do I have anymore?
Well, but then you rest and you still have that because that was your baby. It's
Yeah.
like once I delivered my child out of out of my womb, my child doesn't go away. You know what I'm saying? My child is growing with, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You deliver something into the world that you shared. Again, it's yeah, I see it. It's definitely going into the nurturing and mothering. Um, and we'll talk about that on an unrecorded line.
All right.
But yeah, you should where I would investigate is things that have to do with mother nurturing, uh things like that, where not necessarily that it's I'm not putting it as a negative, you know what I'm saying, but just looking in those areas for once it comes out of me, it's still a baby that needs to be fed,
Mm.
hugged on, loved on. So have you felt neglected? You know what I'm
I've
saying?
been, yeah, have I been neglecting people? Or
Yeah.
how can I nurture?
Yeah, you becoming that nurturer.
Yeah.
And it's like now that and nurturing yourself after that void might come as an opportunity to nurture yourself. It's like, now I hold myself in this space that is a hollow room where I hear nothing except my own echo.
Mm-hmm.
And I sit here for a moment and I have gratitude. Gratitude because I was able to be, utilized to be able to give this gift to the world
Mm.
and nurture you
Mm-hmm.
in that process of that void, and give yourself that love for being that vessel that allowed you to do that. And that's why you're saying, well, what do I have for myself?
Yeah.
You, this resource came from outside of you.
Mm-hmm.
That means that that's just one piece of you. That means there is way more inside of you that you can bring out,
Mm-hmm.
but it came from you. So what do you still have? You have you.
Mm.
You have you.
Mm.
And where are you with nurturing yourself? And where are you with your gifts to yourself? How do you honor yourself in your life? You
Mm-hmm.
know what I'm saying? Where do you play? Do you have a altar for yourself where you can look at your own picture and give honor to who you are and love yourself, and place a beautiful candle there for yourself and give yourself flowers and adorn yourself certain ways? Because you know what I'm saying, what do you have left? You have you.
Yeah.
And you have to honor yourself as the gift, the treasure.
Mm. Yeah. I guess that also too, like, there's that release of something that is yourself, which is more vulnerable than like sharing something that you read, let's say. You know what I mean? It's like writing your own poem versus
It's your baby. Mhm.
reading. So it feels more vulnerable. So it also feels more scary. There's a lot of fear. There's, like, how is it going to be received? Stuff like that. Um, and also then I think, oh my God, well, if things get bigger, how am I going to handle that if there's negative feedback? There's, oh,
Hang on one second. Hang
sure,
on.
sure.
All
Yeah.
right. My apologies. The person I'm meeting with, like in a few moments, like they
Yeah, we
called
can
me a
get
couple
off if
times.
you gotta go.
Yes. But listen, I've enjoyed talking to you, Lindsay, as always. It's
Yeah,
like,
same.
continue shining so brightly. We're here to shine together and, to be with each other. And you know that I'm here for you.
Thank you. And I hope you know the same. Like if you need something from me as well, like, help, what you just, like you've said in the past, I need your presence there.
Yeah.
So yeah, down.
Yes. Done. Well, I need to see you
Yeah.
like within the next, like I'm going to Atlanta next weekend, but when I get back, I need to see you.
Yeah,
So
we should go foraging or something. I want to go foraging.
let's do that. Let's do it. I need to see.